I'm Jack Cohen-Joppa, and I have a question for you. Have you heard the proposition that nuclear power is a clean energy source for the future? The nuclear industry has spent tens of millions of dollars in the past few years just to promote this positive image. They've even hired a couple of former environmentalists to head up front groups and pitch a perky story about nuclear power. I've seen and read this stuff, and frankly, it's kind of creepy. I was a college kid back in the 1970s when nuclear power was as hot as it ever got. We heard all the same spin back then. Make peace with the atom. Cleaner than coal. Trust us. It's safe. So now, I hear these same fantasies, and I can't help thinking, if nuclear power is so great, why must they spend all this money to tell us so? After all, it's 20 years after the last nuclear power plant was built. If it's worth the hype, shouldn't it be obvious by now? Well, the real answer is just under the headlines. Take this recent example of nuclear spin from my local paper. It's headlined, "Nuclear Power in Vogue Once Again." But if you actually read the story, you gotta wonder how in vogue nuclear power really is. Here's what it says about the, quote, enormous obstacles facing nuclear power. Waste disposal, safe operations, and security remain major concerns, but economics may be the biggest deterrent. Whoa. With all these major concerns, either the nuclear promoters are fools, or they must surely think you and I are. Consider the concerns, and let's start with security. How many other energy sources require SWAT teams on site? Every nuclear power plant also becomes a pre-positioned weapon of mass destruction just waiting for its terrorists. What about safety? Technology can never eliminate human error or mechanical failure. And although the risk may be small, the consequence of a nuclear accident could be hugely catastrophic. No private company has been foolish enough to insure the nuclear industry. The taxpayer has to because the risk is simply too high. So as a society, why be foolish with risk when there are attractive, viable alternatives? Now, what's left? Oh yes, the radioactive waste. That's what's left over. There's already more waste from the nuclear power we've used than the only planned dump site at Yucca Mountain, Nevada can ever hold. As a result, every nuclear power plant is a de facto nuclear waste dump. Each one must be securely guarded for who knows how long and at a final cost we can't begin to know. How foolish could we be to create more nuclear waste when we still can't deal with all we've got? And finally, there's this enormous price tag. The nuclear industry is known for lowball estimates and way over budget construction costs. After the first generation of reactors was built, Forbes Business magazine called the U.S. nuclear power industry the largest financial disaster in American history. The current cost of wind energy is comparable to the best estimates for new nuclear power, with even lower long-term carbon costs. In the future, mass production will bring down the cost of wind and other low-carbon renewable sources of electricity, while the recent real cost of nuclear projects overseas has only kept going up. Now, there is no doubt that our country faces some serious choices, expensive choices about how to meet future energy demand without more harm to the environment. But with every dollar invested in nuclear, we take away from investment in cleaner, safer, more sustainable, and ultimately less costly alternatives. I'd rather our country invest in renewable energy that we can develop and sell to the rest of the world than in a nuclear technology we must forever be on guard to keep away from the world. So, sure, except for the radioactive waste, the safety challenge, the security threat, and the unending expense, nuclear power is in vogue with fools. I'm Jack Cohen-Joppa, and this has been my commentary.